I would like to thank the Alabama Sports Officials Hall of Fame Committee for selecting me for this highly prestigious honor. This has been a very humbling experience. I got into football officiating because of my uncle Bob Wells, who was affectionately called Chief throughout his 60-plus years of officiating football and baseball in the Birmingham area. Uncle Bob was a chief with the Birmingham Fire and Rescue Department, and I was a firefighter. He was a very important part of my life since I'd lost my father a few years earlier. With his recommendation, I was able to start my officiating career in 1972 with the Birmingham Football Officials Association, which built my foundation for officiating. My first position was head linesman, and we used a four-man crew with red and white flags. I remember working my first varsity football game in 1972 in week 6 of that season. And guess who the referee for that was? You got it right, the chief. It was early October, and the game was between Hueytown and Shelby County. Morris Higginbotham was the head coach for Hueytown. Uncle Bob told me that he went to high school with Morris and that he liked to holler and argue with the officials. Bob said to ignore him and just keep my eyes on the field and officiate. Well, late in the fourth quarter, there was a deep pass down the field. There was some contact between the Hueytown receiver and the Shelby County defender. The pass was incomplete. I did not call pass interference. Coach Higginbotham went berserk. He was screaming and hollering right in my face while I stood there and didn't say a word. Bob came running over to my sidelines and said, "Donald, what are you doing? You don't have to take that crap off of him." My response was, "You told me to ignore him." Bob reached and pulled my flag out of my rear pocket, launched it into the air. He looked at Coach Higginbotham and said, "Unsportsmanlike conduct." He walked back to the hash marks, stepped off the penalty, and said, "Play ball." Probably one of my most memorable football games was the 2006 6A state championship game at Legion Field in Birmingham. The game was played on a Saturday afternoon at a 1 p.m. kickoff, with Hoover High School playing Prattville High School. There was an estimated crowd of 35,000 people there, certainly the largest crowd at my football game that I called. As we came out of the officials' dressing room, I saw my Uncle Bob walking towards me. He whispered into my ear, "Call your position. Be focused only on your duties and responsibilities, and you will be fine." This game is now referred to as the MTV game, as it was part of the MTV series on Hoover High School called Two-A-Days. It was a great atmosphere that day. I called with an outstanding crew. Incredibly, these same two teams played in the first 7A championship game, and I was fortunate enough to call that game at Jordan-Hare Stadium in 2014. In 1982, I moved to Grove Hill and became a member of the Metro Mobile Football Officials Association, which is 80 miles south of Grove Hill. My career with Metro Mobile involved a lot of travel, over 250,000 miles, to meetings, games, district and state football camps as an instructor, and the purchase of over 4,500 Zero candy bars. It was part of my pregame conference to hand Zero bars out at the end to encourage the officials to work hard with zero mistakes. I will really miss these pregame conferences, not because I was able to go over football rules and position responsibilities, but because of the close relationships I developed with my fellow officials. One of these officials, Jeff McCurley, nominated me for the Hall of Fame, and I really appreciate this. I've known Jeff since he was a teen and encouraged him to get into football officiating, and he took the bait. I've officiated with him for the last 20 years. I hope I've taught him and others I worked with to be the kind of officials who is respected by the coaches, who call their positions with focus and knowledge of the rules, and the one who always strives to be the best official on the field. I've had the privilege to officiate under the leadership of several Alabama high school athletic executive directors, including Herman Bubba Scott, Dan Washburn, Steve Savarese, and Alvin Briggs. Thank you all for your leadership and service. I would like to thank Robert Lose, the Southwest District Football Officials Director, for his guidance and support. And thank you, Steve Newton, for allowing me to pass on some of your football truisms, such as don't officiate air and officiate the game, don't watch the game. When I started calling in 1972, I was fortunate enough to officiate with my brother Arnold, who is here tonight, along with my brother Ronald. We were known in those early days as the English triplets, and I appreciate them attending tonight. I also want to thank all my friends and family who are here tonight, and especially our two children, Grant and Leslie. I would especially like to thank my wife, Mary, for all the hours that she listened to me discussing football rules, casebook situations, and reminding me to take my zero candy bars, for sitting up all those late nights until I got home, for calling me on the way home to make sure that I was still awake, and when I got home, for washing my uniform immediately, and then listening to me dissect the major penalty administrations. I never dreamed that the culmination of my 48 years of officiating football would be the induction into the Alabama Sports Officials Hall of Fame. I am truly honored to join the other outstanding individuals in the 2024 class of inductees, and humbled to now be a member of the Officials Hall of Fame.